Let's get chilly. All right. Welcome back to Let's Chill, the official, unofficial Minnesota Wind Chill and Minnesota Strike podcast. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Kane.
And once again, we're back. We're going to just get right into it. It was a big weekend for all of us. Once again, real quick, congratulations, Jay, on his wedding. And a big weekend for both the Wind Chill and the Strike. Ooh, look at that ring. Kane, why don't you break down what happened in the Frisbee world for us this weekend?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, both the Strike and the Wind Chill had games this weekend. Both of them were at home. The Minnesota Wind Chill had a game at TCO Stadium, which I'll get to after the Strike game, which was at Seafoam Saturday night. Jeff and I were both there. Unfortunately, the Strike did not come away with the win. It was a 17-20 loss against the Philadelphia Surge. That being said, it was a close 4 quarters game. It really felt like it could go either way, pretty much up until the last few minutes there. I mean, I remember us sitting in the end of the end zone, basically kind of going like, this could be the point if we catch this break here kind of thing.
With like 6 minutes left. That was kind of our threshold.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it really was a really good game to have at home against the Strike, not against the Surge. They just brought it, and yeah, I think one of the key takeaways we had kind of talked about a little bit was that the offense was firing this game. It felt like a lot of the connections were being made. It felt like the handle and movement was very good. A lot of really good deep plays as well. Some really good domination. We had Daniel Byers in the deep space, Sarah Mexroth, both just annihilating their people down deep. A lot of good defense down deep as well. Notable blocks from Jane Cook. Emma Poyer had a deep block at one point. So, yeah, really, really good game from the Strike. Kind of hit the key from the game for my last week. Anything for you guys to say about the Strike? Jeff, you want to say anything about that? Or?
Yeah, no, not too much to add. It was a really fun game to watch. Like you said, Kane, like the team was really clean overall. There was rarely a moment where we're like, wow, this is an ugly game, or they really should have cleaned that up better. Like there was not a lot of that. The Surge, I think, like you said, just squeaked out in that fourth quarter. And I think my prediction is the Surge are going to take up that other playoff spot in our division. So losing against the other playoff team, it's really not a bad way to go. Obviously, you want to beat them still, but they're probably going to get the championship weekend. So all due respect.
Especially because the Surge did then go on to face Milwaukee the next day and win as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that too. So yeah, due respect to Surge, very good team. Jay, you were talking about your ring earlier. As cool as that is, it's not quite a championship ring, which the Minnesota Wind Chill look like they may be on their way to getting another one of, considering that they beat Atlanta on Friday night, 17-15. Kind of similar to championship weekend. Everyone kind of looked at Minnesota going into this weekend as not even close to the favorites. I mean, the over-under was like 4.5 or something for Minnesota. I mean, it was a disparity. That being said, so I think one of the main reasons for that was because Atlanta's offense has sort of been stealing the show this year in the UFA. A lot of talk has been generated around the efficiency, the red zone conversion, all that stuff. But as in true Minnesota fashion, the defense brought it this game. Justin Burnett had a stellar game. James Pollard. I mean, those two being notable additions to the D-line this year, having incredibly big games in an incredibly big game. I know James Pollard, especially like big games, James is kind of his nickname. Justin Burnett obviously going up against his former team, so he has sort of a unique approach to that. Dylan DeClercq, veteran defender, had an outstanding game. Obviously, his ability to generate some offensive movement once the disc is turned was super crucial to kind of counterattack Atlanta when they were off their rhythm a little bit. Overall, just a really, really good game of Frisbee from both teams too. And that's all credit to Atlanta. They brought their A game for sure. And it really could have gone either way. But yeah, Minnesota put together a full 4 quarters and put together a good win. Jeff, I know you haven't gotten to see it fully yet.
I've seen some of the highlights on Instagram, and from what I saw, it just looked like both teams had a lot of fun playing. We were talking in our group chat a little bit, just like after every big play, no matter what side of the disc they were on, both teams were smiling, laughing, high-fiving. You had that one, Justin Burnett silly, the waving silly after he got scored on.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the Hayden Austin Nav. Yep,
yeah, yeah. So it's just like a wholesome game. Like that's what Ultimate should be. That's what a fun, close game should be. Like it was competitive still too. It's not like that took away from the intensity of the game. That was really fun to see.
absolutely. I know Jay, you
100%.
wanted to talk some about the defense specifically.
Yeah. So when you think about Atlanta, you think about their offensive efficiency, you think about, Kane and I talked about how it's really a handler dominated game unless you're the cutter who makes the play. And Atlanta has that guy in Brett Holzmeier. Brett Holzmeier played 19 points of offense and finished with a plus minus of -1. So you were talking about, Justin Burnett, James Pollard, these big names. Colin Berry and Max Hanscom had the duty of, shutting down Brett Holzmeier, and they did. He did not have hardly any impact on the game. As a matter of fact, he had a negative impact on that game.
Wow.
So yeah, Minnesota's defense really stepped up. Even like again, players that you don't get to see. I know Barry did have a massive layout block, but yeah, Max Hanscom was on Brett Holzmeier for the majority of the game when he was on the field. When he was on the field, that was sort of Max Hanscom's matchup, and excellent lockdown defense out of Holzmeier.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
and maybe
was really
that's.
fun to
Oh, go ahead.
see. Oh, no, I was just gonna say specifically the individual matchups were really fun. I mean, Atlanta has been a team that has star power. That was kind of like, getting Cam Brock, Alec Wilson-Holiday onto their offense this year. Two also notable cutters, like you mentioned, Jay, Brett Holzmeier. So yeah, just watching the one-on-one matchups throughout the game and how they kind of developed and how they played out, how many blocks were generated, like you said, how many were there total in the game, like for both teams total, if you have that up, because it
Total,
feels
there
like
were
blocks
16.
specific.
Minnesota had 9 blocks and Atlanta had 7.
See, and that feels like, again, to go to Jeff's point, a good competitive game of Ultimate. And I think that goes to our point the week before, where that is exactly how Minnesota had to play. And even if we did not win, even if Atlanta had, taken it by one, um, I think if we had played the exact same game, but with a 1 point outcome, I still would have looked at this game very favorably.
Yeah. All right, let's get to a clip then from the game. We're gonna share a clip from the Atlanta Hustle Minnesota Wind Chill game. We mentioned briefly Colin Berry's name. This play in part includes Colin Berry. Quickly, I'll preview it. Jay, do you want to preview because you found it, or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, so this clip is going to highlight some veteran presence on the field. At this point, Minnesota is down 3-1. They had just gotten broken. It has, it's not it's early on in the game, but also we've seen Minnesota early on in the game let streaks get scored against them, and that cost them games. So I think it's very important here for momentum, to keep the fans engaged, and also just for like team morale to get a quick score. Uh, and then that's what you're going to see in this from some vets.
Yeah. So right now, the only non-vet in this play is actually with the disc, Gabe Yacht. But that'll change quickly here. So I'll annotate Gabe Yacht dishes it to Colin Berry, who hucks it. He's going to find Dylan DeClerc just shy of the end zone here, just about a foot shy or so. DeClerc skies gets it and quickly gives it to our friend Matt Rader for the goal. And that was only three passes. I think this play had maybe about 3 passes before, just off the pole. So a total of 6 passes, about. Um, as you said, Jay, a really quick score off a break is that, yeah, that can be momentum shifting.
And I also want to point out that this is an O prime line. Pollard's on the field right now.
It's their
Um,
D, yeah, their D line effectively, right? Like that's how they
yeah,
play it. Yep.
yeah. So they basically put a defensive line out there. So these guys are mostly defensive guys. Of course, Raider has been playing a lot on both sides of the disc, but you have people like Barry, people like Pollard, people like DeClerc. And on Barry's throw to DeClerc, you can see it's actually a little underthrown. And DeClerc,
Mhm.
he's got a great read on this disc. He's got his arm out. He's gaining more space than he has. He actually gets away with a little bit of a push off in this bit, but that's neither here nor there. Gets away with a little bit of push off, but he's got better position. He boxes out the defender. He immediately turns. He sees Raider making that cut, and Holzmeier's right there. So that's a dangerous throw, but he knows that he is a step ahead. He knows he can make that quick throw, and he's going to that front pylon, so he's cutting in as well. So it's just a perfect, Barry sees that he has that throw. He trusts DeClerc, and then DeClerc sees he has Raider coming up top, and he trusts Raider.
Was gonna say also on this play as Dylan Clark catches the disc, watch Raider. It's not like a fantastic cut necessarily. I'm not saying like it's amazing, but just like the wherewithal, the field awareness, like I am that next. I'm the receiver on this next throw. So like he knows he has to get there. It's just like it's high frisbee IQ, maybe not even high, but just like, like that's good ultimate. That's connection. Um, it's knowing where you are on the field, what your role is. Yeah, where that disc is being thrown. It's coming a little short, so he has to position in a certain way. Yeah, it's just a good play. Look, I'll play it back one more quick time here. Kane, do you have anything here?
I think it's interesting to note how this at this point in the game, Minnesota was down by two. Um, Unlike Chicago, it felt like, Jay, we did not let them get away with it. We really did not let them get that streak or gain that momentum. And I think that that's something Minnesota is going to have to prove that they can do against Chicago. Um, really looking forward to that next game. That's pretty much all. Just had to get a
Yeah.
dig in at the Union.
Yeah, and of note, we're not going to linger too long. We do have to get moving on. But the Hustle traveled to Chicago the next day. It went double overtime where Chicago won. They beat the Hustle. So, I mean, that's just kind of keeping an eye on the Central, on the league as a whole. That's a huge win for Chicago. Crazy double overtime game. Um, yeah. So again, neither here nor there, but just kind of doing our due diligence and updating you all. While we're on the wind chill, Jay, do you want to preview the wind chill's upcoming game this weekend?
Yeah, so this weekend, the Minnesota Wind Chill are back at home, but really at home because
Okay.
they're playing back in Seafoam Stadium against the Pittsburgh Thunderbirds. My keys to the game are going to be kind of silly. Number one is it's Pittsburgh. You just played the Atlanta Hustle. You made an awesome game plan. You've already blown out Pittsburgh once this year. Keep it simple. Play some good frisbee. Don't do anything too crazy. You don't need to win by 15 points. Don't injure yourselves. Don't do anything that would, obviously still, try and win the game. But remember, it's Pittsburgh.
I don't think
Yeah.
that's silly at all. I would love to see the roster depth explored a little bit more. I don't want to see a blown out game. I don't want to see a 32 to whatever that was that one time. As funny as that is, as good as that is for our more, I don't know, whatever it does for us, I think it's much more useful to experiment with some different lines for when some matchups aren't working later on, or whatever it is. Use this as an opportunity to explore the depth of the roster a little bit more.
I will say to your point, Kane, U24 Worlds is right around the corner. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's right there. We're knocking on the door, and so we are going to lose. I believe Justin Burnett, I believe Will Brandt, and I believe PK. Um, and so that's at least two, if not three or more players who we're going to need to fill in. So yeah, this games like this, exactly to your point. Let's see who else can step up.
Yeah, we are in fact losing those three players. I don't know if it's for this game, but I'm pretty sure they are, that none of them will be here for this game, if not future games. Uh,
Mhm.
that was my second key to the game was roster depth. No joke. My
Oh.
first key was like it's Pittsburgh, don't, keep it simple. The second key is, you can use your roster now. People will be leaving soon.
Yeah.
It's high time we start, playing at these, I don't want to say the second string players, but put in the backups almost.
Yep.
Get that comfortable
Absolutely.
lead and then put in those backups. So yeah, Kane sort of stole it right out of my mouth.
I mean,
I
yeah,
would.
it's a good key to the game, and I do see the distinction between that and Pittsburgh. I think yeah, my just happened to be like building off of it. I think offense wins games, defense wins championships. Depth of roster makes your team actually good. You know what I mean? If you got seven guys that are really good, it's like, okay, well, okay, seven guys that are really good. But if you can put every single line that is scoring every time, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. I kind of said what I wanted to say last time, so I agree.
All right, now getting to some players to watch. As you can imagine, given that I want to flex depth, I'm not
Yeah.
going to choose some big name players.
Oh, Beavon, no.
So
Justin Burnett for the fifth time.
I will choose one big name player, and that's Yacht, but not the
Okay.
Yacht everyone thinks of. Um, Gabe Yacht has been
Yeah.
playing in quite a few games this year, and he has been doing fairly well. This year he's played in 4 games. He's got a plus minus of 8, so he's doing really well. He's got 5 goals, has 3 blocks, 2 assists this year. He's, playing like a pro ultimate frisbee player at the high level against good guys. He can make a big impact on our depth of this team. Getting him as the guy on the field who's like the play goes through, who leads the offense or defense, whatever line he's playing on. He has actually split his time this year, 22 points on offense and defense. So
That was actually gonna be my question was how has he been playing?
yeah, exact 50-50 split. I didn't know
Wow.
that. I knew he was splitting it, but I did not know it was an exact 50-50 until right
Wait,
now.
is that 11 points on each or 22 points on each?
22 points on each.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, Gabe Yacht, want to see him, leading the field, leading the charge on some of these plays.
Did you mean Ben
I
Yot?
Yeah, right. I remember when Gabe Yacht was in the stands with us in the wind show, not with us in the wind show games, and he'd always walk past us. I'm like, hey, where's Ben?
He had his
And now, yeah, he'd
Canyons
always have
jersey on.
his Cannons jersey. So yeah, it's just it's cool to kind of see him in the field or on the field. Um, and yeah, he was in that play that we just highlighted.
Absolutely.
Didn't
Yeah.
not wasn't significant, but yeah.
Yeah,
And then
sorry, I was
another
gonna add.
player. Oh, sorry. Yeah, but another player to watch this week. I know not technically a rookie. He's been playing since 2021, took a year off in 22, but hasn't had a ton of games played total, is Blake Crapful.
Hmm.
He's played, all 4 games this year for Minnesota, has a plus minus of 7, 4 goals, a block, and 2 assists. So he's, again, playing well, doing well, and um, he plays exclusively on defense. He's played 61 points of defense this year, so he's been on the field quite a bit in those 4 games that he's played. And again, I think it's time we let some of these guys who don't get too many reps get more reps, especially against a team like Pittsburgh, to build that depth. And I think, Gabe Yacht as that sort of utility player and Blake Crapful, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Blake, if you're
Couldn't
listening,
tell
we'd
you.
love to get you on the pod.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I think those are two fun players to watch.
Yeah. Blake has this is his really his first kind of full season with the wind chill. I think last year he was technically like rostered for the first time. Prior to that, he had been a practice player, a reserve, or however you want to call it. He only played in 2023. He played 1 game with a chill. In 2021, he had 3 games. Um, and oh, actually, no, 2021 was when he played with. So I'm looking at his player page right now. So I'm not like I don't have this memorized. He played with the Radicals and Mechanics before. So 2021 he played with Madison. 2023 he played with the Mechanics, and the last 2 years he played with Minnesota. But the most games he's ever played in a season has been 3, and that was last year and 2021. So he's already surpassed how many games he's played in a single season with the wind chill this year. Um, yeah, so it kind of shows his growth as a player. He's a little more solid on the team, maybe, and exactly like you said, Jay. This is kind of the game, maybe that he can have a breakout game. He's clearly going to be more of a consistent player. Yeah, it's his time. Let's go, Blake.
Yeah, I think when you have such a deep like bench to pull from to put onto defense specifically, um, in the case of Blake Raffle, think about that. Um, and what that it does is it allows you to take pieces like Bivon, for example. I'll just use, take another big name, who you know is consistent, who you know can be that guy, and put him on O line in a season where I don't want to harp on this too much. offense really is super important and allows those guys that you know can perform and be consistent to kind of take center stage a little bit while still letting the depth of the roster shine and perform in moments that matter just as much, but maybe get overshadowed by things such as like the big plays on offense.
Hmm.
I also want to point out one more thing about both these players. I didn't know this. I knew they were both tall. I didn't know their exact heights. According to both their player bios, they're both 6'4". So
Cool.
Me too. Yeah.
be good to add some nice skin. Be good to add some height to the depth of the Minnesota roster.
Very true. That's something we've been just historically lacking the last couple of years. So yeah, good point. Okay. Are you ready to preview the strike? So the strike are wrapping up their season. They are, I mean, they've got to be mathematically out of playoff contention because the Surge are 4-1. The Strike are currently 1-3. So even if they, yeah, so they're out of playoff contention, but they still have one more game on Sunday against Nashville Nightshade. The Nightshade are 0-4. They're winless, I should say. So that's kind of a positive spin maybe on the last game of the season. It's on a Sunday afternoon, kind of a weird time and date for that, but it's going to be a good game still. I think the Strike want to obviously win or, end on a win and end on a high note. And I think they definitely can on Sunday. A couple ways to get to that win. I'm going to say for players to watch. I'm going to start with players to watch. Kane's going to be maybe roll his eyes at me when I say this. I've been watching her all season long and pointing her out every single time. Kane, I want to see if you can guess who it is, but she hasn't had as big of a season as I've wanted. But I think that this game could be her game. I'm always like, okay, on this point, I'm going to watch number 24. It's number 20. I believe she's number 24. Um, she's a
Oh gosh,
cutter.
I gotta get numbers down. Is that Eugenia?
It's not Eugenia. It is Allegra Johnson McKee.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Okay.
I'm always like, all right, Kane, watch her on this point. It's like
Okay. You say
there's
that about
something
every. You say about every point you say this time. This character. This player. This
this
player.
character. But I
I'm.
feel like
I'm
for me, it's always been Allegra. I feel like since I went to that practice that first time, I I just saw something in her. And for me personally, I saw her as a handler. I thought she was going to be a primary handler. The coaches were like, nope, she's a reliable cutter. She's going to be a cutter. There's, she can handle. But so I was wrong in that prediction. But since then, I've been watching her every point, and I think that I kind of want to give her one more shout out ahead of this next game. Like I think she can provide a good spark to the defense. She's been a practice player or a reserve player for the last few seasons, but she still knows the team. This is her first year as a full-time player. She's a defensive cutter who's kind of made those quiet plays. She hasn't had a ton of huge plays this season, but she's kind of been that key bridge piece. We always talk about those continuation cuts, and kind of just bridging those gaps, making that disc move down the field. She's right there with them every time. Um, I don't necessarily have a huge reason to believe like she's gonna have a breakout game and she's due. Like I definitely believe that person. Like I want to believe that, but like I've just been really enjoying watching her this season. Um, and so I just want to like shout her out. Like you guys should also watch her. Watch number 24 and just like enjoy some good solid cutting against the Nightshade.
absolutely.
100%.
And
I was
also,
going to
Allegra, if you're listening, get you on the pod sometime.
Yeah.
That's all. Jay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and we've talked about players like this before, like Jeff has before, where we've seen their potential, we've seen what they can do. Let's see them have that breakout game. And I think, it's the Strike's last game of the season. So for this year, it's now or never. Um, but I totally agree with Jeff. Allegra has been, making those. I wouldn't necessarily like making all of the tough plays because there are times when she makes mistakes. But I think, like you said, watching her at that practice, and you've been like, really hype on her. So I believe in your belief at the very least. And I believe that, what you've seen and what she has done on the field, um, that she could have a really big breakout game. Um, the Strike haven't had the greatest of seasons this year. Even in their win, it didn't look the cleanest, and in some of their losses, they looked better than in their win.
Hmm.
So I think that it's kind of got to be now if she's going to have that breakout game.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so kind of her throwing partner, I should say, for my other player to watch is Sarah Monshine. And yes, I'm picking two defensive players, and that's going to be one of my keys to the game. Spoiler alert. So, but Sarah Monshine is my quote unquote boring pick. She's kind of the obvious pick, like, but she's not Sarah Mextra. She's not Daniel Byers. But Moon, if you're listening, love to have you on. I got a good interview with Moon at practice. Um, but I also brought this up to Kane at the game. We were sitting in the end zone. Moon's pulls, I think, are really underrated. She was practicing at practice, but just like every pull she has is so consistent. I feel like she has pinpoint accuracy, and she is just such a good handler on defense. Like, I'll be honest, I don't really watch her on defense when she's playing defense. My mind doesn't watch her. My mind watches Jane Cook. So I couldn't really tell you how her defense is, and I'm just going to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
her offense is awesome, and she is known for her handling. Like, she is my number one pick for a defensive handler. Um, I'll see if I have any other like specific notes on here. Yeah, I mean, I think what I have here is like she's a leader on the team. They can all rally around Moon. Like, she is, if she's not officially a captain, I believe she is. Like, she's definitely a captain, just by virtue of her role, her experience, not just her skill, but also her skill. And I think that she can really help lead this team. Like I said, help end the season on a high note, and yeah, make some plays.
Yeah. Monshine for sure has been on defense specifically. You need someone who can slow it down when you have to slow it down. A lot of times defenses really thrive on the quick turn, and that's really good. And the strike are very good at the quick turnaround. Um, but sometimes you do need to take that as an opportunity to establish a slower rhythmic offense. Monshine for sure has been one of those pieces where once she gets the disc, she'll fully analyze what the best approach to that opportunity or to the opportunity is. Is it taking that next quick pass or is it slowing it down and establishing an offense? And I think that's a great player to watch alongside Johnson McKee because not on like the opposite, not that Johnson McKee isn't, but being a cutter, she has to react to that decision on the handler end.
Hmm.
And so it is very important that they're in rhythm with each other, that they understand how the other one is thinking and feeling on that particular point and aware of what is right for that situation. So yeah, very good to watch both of those on the defensive end. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, like Jeff said, if you're listening, Monshine, love to get you on the pod.
All right, so my keys to the game here. Um, I guess I'll kind of stick with that defensive one first. Is I'll phrase it as fresh legs win games. Um, I think the defense especially seems to kind of putter out in the fourth quarter. I think we've kind of seen that a couple times. We saw it against the Red, we saw it against the Surge. Those both those games were very winnable. Both those games we all thought were very clean, especially from an offensive standpoint. We can be nitpicky with a few things, but overall, great games. But I think one thing that we saw is that the defense really kind of petered out at the end, and Red and Surge really got away with it. Um, so I want to see maybe more strategic timeouts or better or different lines put together. I don't know exactly. I don't have the answer for this, but just fresh legs, utilize fresh legs, and especially in the fourth point or fourth quarter, like try to shorten up those points. They do a great job at really extending points. Sometimes I think that can be a strength of the strike, but I think sometimes too it backfires and then they get tired as the game goes on.
I was going to say to that point, Jeff, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before, but just this year in general, the Strike have looked really out-conditioned by a lot of their opponents. And it
Hmm.
seems like a lot of the times that not having that next level conditioning
Yep.
has led them in those fourth quarter situations, like we said, you know. So I agree, like taking those good timeouts in those right spots, just giving them literally breathing time to just catch their breath a little bit and then go back out there can make the difference between losing by a couple of points in the fourth quarter or holding it out for the rest of the game and taking it home.
Yeah, I mean, part of it does come down to depth. Obviously, you have to be able to have enough players that are at the level um to utilize them consistently. But like Jeff mentioned earlier, we're pretty much out of the playoff picture at this point. This is the final game. It's at home, so it would be really nice to utilize again the full roster, get all the players as much play time as possible. If nothing else, just to let the fans get the full experience.
Yeah, true. My second key to the game, I will admit this one is boring to me, but it's a praise of the strike that have been doing this very well. Keep utilizing everybody. Um, I think the team has really clicked since game one. I think game one we kind of admitted it almost seemed like a chemistry thing. It didn't seem like a skill issue. It didn't necessarily seem like a conditioning issue, although maybe it was. But it just felt like something that was kind of off on game one. But after game one, this team has looked just way more put together. They're playing like a team. They're utilizing every single person on the field. Um, I'll once again reference the games against Red and Surge, those two losses that really should have or could have been wins. Like I've been very happy with this team. I've never really walked away from a game against like of the strike and being like, "Wow, this is a terrible team," or "What are they doing?" or "They need to scrap every." I mean, like I guess I'm not really that negative anyway, but like you definitely could. Like there are some days where like I watch a game and I'm like, that person should not be handling or something. But I've never really felt that way with the strike. I think everyone kind of has been doing a great job at figuring out who they are, where they belong on this team, and utilizing the strengths. Um, and so yeah, Kane, you kind of alluded to this just a little bit ago, but like this is the last game, so like let's get everyone on the field. Let's end on this high note. I feel like I've said this a million times. Um, yeah, just have a good game, utilize everybody, and set yourself up for a really strong start next season. Because I think that's going to help carry over, and you can look back at this last game and be like, "This is the roster we had." It's not going to be the exact same roster, but it's darn close, and this is kind of where we want to keep going for next year and beyond.
I definitely feel like in a 12 game season, the strike made the playoffs. I feel like that this is the kind of season where
Yeah.
the first 5 games are kind of like, ooh, and then the back half feel good. And maybe, if we lose against Nashville, I'll walk that statement back a little bit and say, okay, maybe we got to come back at it next year. But
Right.
especially against how the surge, I mean, this last weekend here, I mean, that was such a good game. It really does feel like, give us 5 more games, 6 more games or whatever, and we're there.
Mhm.
Anyway, I got gripes, but yeah, I agree
Yep.
that
Yeah.
that's yeah.
No, yeah, I totally agree. I I kind of want to build off of Kane's point as well with sort of both of you were saying, Kane was like more games, but also more players on the field. When your players are actually able to get experience and actually able to play together in those situations, like in real game situations, and I think that's part of the reason why Jeff has been so high on Allegra Johnson McKee. She looked really good in practice. He believes she can do it on the field. But if she doesn't have the amount of time to do it on the field that she needs to actually be able to excel on the field,
Mhm.
then she won't. That's kind of why I feel like, game five, I don't know if she's played in every game, but I believe she has. Game five needs to be the game where she does it because that would just prove Jeff's point. Keep using everyone, and then you can eventually it'll click. It will work. He'll, come back next year like you had mentioned. And I agree with Kane that in a 12 game season, strike win this game, they might go on to win 4 or 5 more and make it to a championship weekend or at least a playoff situation.
Right.
So
Right. And even get a
I,
chance to rematch Surge, Red,
Mhm.
Monarchs, those closer games. Because theoretically in a 12 game season, you probably at least repeat some of your games, some of your opponents, and get to see them again. Like a one opponent or one game doesn't do you justice. It doesn't tell the full story. If Minnesota Wind Chill and or Atlanta Hustle played each other again, it could easily go the other way. It's not like the Wind Chill are better than the Hustle. Um, yeah, and yeah, not the point of my pod or my key to the game, not the point of the pod, but but it's worth discussing. It's worth discussing. Like this
Absolutely.
team,
Yeah.
the currently 1-3 team is not a 1-3 team. It shouldn't be. So, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of hope for the next season and beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that what for me it's like this team that's going to end with, hopefully 2-3. That's a
Mhm.
40% win rate. In a longer season, they probably end with a 60% win rate. So,
Yeah, at least, yeah. Okay. Well, as we just previewed, two big games this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Uh, come support both. They're both at Seafoam Stadium. Definitely want to shout out the strike game, especially against the last game of the season. Show up big. Let's break that record again. We broke the record the first game of the season. Let's break our own record again. It's Pride Night, so come show your pride, wear your gear, and let's send them off well. And of course, let's go support the Wind Chill. Congratulate them on their hustle game, and let's beat the Thunderbirds as well. We'll all see you there on Saturday and Sunday. In the meantime, stay chilly and ka-chow.
stay chilly.
Ciao.
Ka-chow.
Stay chilly.